everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of our Grace podcast. I'm so excited to have Kesh Pillay with us today. How's it, Kesh?
Hi, Kerry. Hello,
Great.
everybody.
Yeah, Kesh is our Cornubia campus pastor, also known as Kesh Lynn, but Kesh, as he's more commonly known to us and lovingly known to us. We are so excited to have you with us. Kesh has just taken over recently as the Cornubia campus pastor, so he is still learning the ropes there. How's that been going?
It's been going good. Settling into the community. I've been here from the start since we started the campus, so it was good to build a relationship. But I'm loving the community. God's doing amazing things here. We're seeing it growing, and there's just such a vibe. There's just like when you walk through the doors, you just know that you're here with family, and that's what I love about the campus. You know, it's all about that relationship and that quality time that we get to spend with each other.
True. That's awesome, Kesh. Well, we're so stoked to have you with us. We are in week 2 of our series Memento Mori, Remember You Die, which is quite a hectic title, but it's basically, as we said in our first week, it's more about remembering to number our days. Basically making sure we're living in the moment, keeping short accounts, living humbly and honestly with those around us and in harmony with those around us and with God and ourselves. So today we are so excited to have Kesh because what we're going to be talking about is just basically him sharing his testimony with us. Kesh has a very powerful testimony and it seemed like the right time to do it. So Kesh, why don't you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up for you and what your childhood was like?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, the series is definitely amazing. It's very close to my heart because firsthand, so much experience in this area, and just with all the stuff that I've been through in life, like I've come to that place of my days are numbered and I need to use my time well. And that's because of everything I've been through. So like we said, we share my testimony today. And if I had to go back and if I can start like early childhood, I grew up in a family, happy home. We didn't have a lot at that point in our lives. Like, my dad was just, making it by. So financially, we weren't very rich, but we had family, and family was like everything to us. Like everything we did was together. We did life together, church together. It was just, there's this huge sense of family in my early childhood. But then my mom and my siblings passed away in a car accident when I was 8 years old. So that obviously, it shaped like my future, the way that I would head and the path that I would go down in. But obviously that was a very, very young and early age. My dad asked me how long should he stay single. I told him wait till I'm a teenager, because I felt like as a teenager, I can take care of myself. So even if he gets married and goes off and does his own thing, I'm good. But that's just my young mentality and thinking, because that wasn't the case at all. But yeah, for the first few years of my life, it was just myself and my dad. He raised me as a single parent. He only got remarried when I was a teenager. So there was a time when it was just myself and him. But then there was time where I stayed with several families. So my dad had a couple sisters that would come and take care of us. Like they would stay with us for a year with their families as well, and then eventually got remarried. So lots of family dynamics there, broken families, blended families. There's a whole lot of that.
Definitely, sure. And it's losing your mom and siblings at such a young age is something no one can prepare for at any age, let alone at such a young age and in one go like that.
Yeah, and if you think of this idea of your days are numbered, like when I look at the ages of my family that passed away, my sister was 4 years old. My brother was 10 years old. My mom was about 28, 29. And those are like fairly young ages. So it's not like there's this idea that we always have time, we will die when we're older. But that's not the reality for everyone. I mean, at any given moment, your life could come to an end.
That's exactly it. And losing them at such a young age definitely would have shaped your childhood, shaped your adolescence and teenage years. and going
Yeah, it
forward,
was
as well
wild.
as obviously the different family dynamics and your dad getting new relationships and things like that as well.
Yeah.
When did things start to change for you? You know, what were the feelings that came up that brought that about?
In which sense, change in like a positive or the negative? Because there's a lot of different change that happened in the different stages in that.
So you tell me where your story went next. Where did you feel like things started
So I
changing?
think where it went next was, myself and my dad had a super close relationship. That obviously because being a single parent, and it was just myself and him. And so for many years we got like super close, and we were like these two soldiers, just going at life together. Um, but then I think as a teenager, that's when things started to shift and change for me, because now my dad got remarried, and he moved away, and I lived with them for a while, but myself and my stepmom, we weren't really seeing eye to eye. We had some difficulties, and I decided that I'm going to move out and not live with them anymore. So I went to live back with my aunt. Now, when this happened, obviously being a teenager, I was exposed to a lot of things and a lot of freedom, because my dad wasn't there anymore. So I didn't have to answer to him, and I could get away with a lot of stuff. This is when I started like dating in school, having girlfriends, and this is when I started hanging out with my friends quite often, like every day at home. And we started drinking and taking drugs and that stuff like that. So very early, like 14, 15 years old. So I started out super young. But it's funny, I was just talking to someone the other day. I was like, I started young, but I ended young also. Because by the time I reached my 20s, by 22, like I'd stopped all my craziness, my crazy lifestyle of the drugs and the alcohol. Obviously, they carried through from school into college as well. So yeah, I would say that definitely changed the direction I was heading in. And it wasn't like for the best.
What do you feel led you into spending that time with those friends after school and getting involved, like you said, at such a young age with alcohol and drugs? What do you think maybe put you
So
in that
definitely,
direction?
I like now I can look back and I can put my finger on it. But at that point, obviously, I didn't realize what was actually going on with me. I don't believe like people just start drugs and then or alcohol and then just get addicted because they want to. There's something that led up to that point. There's something that obviously pushed them into that direction. And for me, at that time, if anyone had to ask me, I would say it was just for fun. Like I was just doing it with my friends. Like we just started doing this stuff for fun. But it wasn't just for fun, because when I think about those moments, the feeling that I wanted was not so much the feeling that I got from the drugs. It was more of being in that circle of friends, being together with people. And so having that relationship, because these were my brothers, they were my friends, but they were my brothers. We do everything together. It was a sense of belonging. It was a sense of family. And if I could look back on my life now, I mean, losing my family at such an early age, there was the sense of emptiness there, which I didn't deal with at that point, because I think when you're a child, you don't even understand what's going on. So you don't know how to deal with it. And I don't even think your brain is fully developed to fully process it. And so I found that it started affecting me later in life, like dealing with the trauma of the loss. And because I also almost lost my life in that accident, right? And so just dealing with the trauma of all of that. And then there's things like I had my dad. He was always there for me, gave me the best that he could. But at Christmas, when you see all the families together, opening their Christmas gifts and waking up as a family together and just showing love to each other, and there was this like sense of a loss and emptiness, because I didn't have that. I was now the only child. I used to have siblings and I don't have them anymore. I used to have a mom and I don't have that anymore. And it was kind of depressing. It was hurtful. So trying to fill that void, I was obviously looking for a relationship in different places, and that relationship came in the form of hanging out with my friends. But unfortunately, hanging out with my friends meant that we were also doing all of those kind of things. But yeah, I would say it's a sense of belonging and a sense of like I've got people that love me and care for me, and we're together, and yeah.
That makes sense. I don't know if there was any sense of trying to numb in any way. Like you say, you almost lost your own life in that accident as well. That must have been quite a struggle trying to deal with that as well. There's always that survivor's guilt almost, and being the middle child as you were at that age. Surely there must have been some of that as well coming into play. Just, this is where I'm finding solace, and this is where I'm able to just block out all the emotions that might be coming up at that age.
Yeah. And I even feel like sometimes you can numb without even realizing that you're numbing, and you're just doing stuff, but you don't even know why you're doing it until you get to doing the work of it. And I think it only happened later on in life. So like I said, in my 20s, when I made the change, that came off another difficult situation, which is when I flipped my car and I was in a car accident. And so here's my life at risk again. So, and this wasn't the second time. This was the third time. So I had the first accident when I was small, when I was younger, when I was 8 years old. And then the next one again was in my 20s, when I was 22. I was in another car accident. And then a month later, I was in another car accident where I flipped the car. And this is coming out of a place because also now, again, as I got older, and I finished like school and stuff like that, my dad really gave me everything. He spoiled me to a point that wasn't actually healthy. And I don't think he knew better. He thought that he was just, taking care of me or giving me the best. My father came from a very, very, very poor family. They didn't have much. They didn't even have their own houses there when they were growing up. And so he worked hard to get to a place where he could afford a lot of things. And when he did that, he's like, I'm gonna give my children everything. Yeah. So that's what he did. But it had a negative effect on me as well, because I became very spoiled. So I had I had the car, I had 2 houses when I was 21, and these are stuff that was all given to me, and it gets to your head, and you lose yourself. You become a materialistic. Life becomes, but again, it was filling a void. So now I'm finding a sense of identity and belonging in what I have, and I can use this to present myself to the world as something or someone to be seen, to be known, and to I got lost in that world, and then so just drinking, drugs, meeting these car accidents, not really caring about life, and when I met that third accident, then my dad came to the hospital, and he started crying next to the bedside, and I'm apologizing, and I'm like, I'm sorry I ruined the car and stuff. He's like, I don't care about the car. I lost your entire family. Now you want me to lose you. And those words stuck in my head. Okay, if I had to die today, what was going to happen? Yeah. How was this going to affect my family? What are they going to deal with me and my passing away? And then with myself also, I grew up in a Christian home. So there's this talk of a life of eternity. And where was I going to spend my eternity? And these things were playing in my mind. And that's when I said, I need to change my life. And
what do you think made it different that time that it clicked into place? Do you feel like you were maybe in a different place in your life to receive those words properly? Or, is there anything that could maybe come to mind?
I have to be honest, I can't really explain it, but I definitely say there's a feeling inside of me was feeling incomplete. Like this is not life. This is not the reason why you were created and how you should be living. And and you've had, and then the thought was if God kept you, if he saved you the first, because I could have died in the first accident. Why did my brother die? Why did my sister die? Why wasn't it me? What's the reason for me being left behind? And so for me, that's what came, that's the direction I want to head in, to figure this out. Why me, God? Why did you keep me alive? Is there a reason for my life? And how can I find my sense of belonging?
So then did you start journeying towards finding answers to that?
I did. So I felt like rehab was not for me. I did not want to go to rehab. I didn't want to go to counseling and all of these things. These things are good for you, They really are very good for you. But inside of me, I felt like, for me, the only thing that I personally wanted, I specifically wanted God to like show himself to me, that he's real. And so I said, okay, well, God, you're going to help me to get my life back in order. And I don't know how, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't even know what's my next step. And I didn't know what my next step was. It was just a simple prayer. And literally, it wasn't me like screaming and asking God. It was me just simply coming before God and be like, God, I can't live like this anymore.
Yeah.
You, the only one that can help me. So please, if you're real, change my life. And I just felt led, like the next day, I just felt led to go visit my pastor. He wasn't there, but his daughter and son-in-law was there. And they started telling me about missions and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, you know what? This might be an opportunity for me to change my life. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself completely, just wholly to God for a season in my life, and see what he does. And so I didn't go to the app. I just went and I did missions to draw closer to God. And as I began to draw closer to him, he started working through all of the other stuff.
Sure. That's quite powerful. I mean, like you say, there's definitely place for rehab and for counseling.
Definitely, yes.
You know,
and I still support that. Like, I still have friends that go to it, and I even go along as a friend, because sometimes you just need a friend to go with you to that place, because you feel out of place. Again, it's like what I've been saying. I got into drugs because I wanted to belong. I wanted to have family. I wanted to have friends. So it's the same thing in your healing and recovery. You still want family and friends to be a part of that healing and recovery.
That's the thing. And, as you were journeying then through the missions and journeying with God through what you've been going through, did you start to feel, was it an all at once feeling of like a void being slowly patched together? Was it like all of a sudden you turned around one day and you're like, oh, wow, I haven't actually felt that longing in a long time? Like, is there anything you can explain along those lines for us?
So definitely the focus did not become, how do I give up drugs or alcohol at all. I never even spoke about it. Like in the journey, I confronted some of the stuff, but that wasn't the goal. So the goal was, who are you, God? Like, who are you? I want to know who you are. Like, are you real? Show me that you're real. I need to know that you exist, and just have you present in my life. So what had happened was, I started finding out things about him. We had all these teachings as a missionary. Every week we would do these lessons, and it was like on God's nature and character. It was like your purpose. Why did God create you? It was on like healing, reconciliation, forgiveness, just going over topics like that. And as I started going over topics and teachings about that, so, the Bible talks about renewal of mind. And this was the renewal of my mind and my worldview and my understanding of life. Because I've been shaped with culture, I've been shaped by society, by the place that I grew up, I've been shaped by family and friends. But now I want to see what's the biblical worldview on life and living. And so, and to give you an example, like, the more I discovered about God's nature and character, the more I discovered that actually this is my father, like the first relationship that I have. This is the guy that I can depend on. He's the one that's not just waiting to sit there and judge me, because obviously I'm messed up so much. I've done so many things. Like, now I'm even thinking, why would God even want a relationship with me? But discovering his nature and character showed me that, man, that's who he came for. He came for the lost and the broken. He wants to bring healing to those who are broken, and he wants to restore you back to life. So discovering things like healing and reconciliation. What does it mean to reconcile and to bring healing into your relationships? Like I said earlier, me and my stepmom, we were having some difficulties, but through that process and learning what's God's heart of forgiveness, I was able to have a conversation with my stepmom and work things out. And come to a place where we care about each other. And, my family, we're good now. And so, but it comes through the work and doing the hard work of that and growing in God.
Yeah. I'm sure there must have been days where it felt like it was such a slog, where it was just a thing of, you know, especially in the beginning. But sometimes we find we're on an upward trajectory and then we hit a bit of a plateau. You know, I'm sure you must have come across days like that. How did you keep pushing through? How did you keep pushing on when you reached those times where it felt like it was just so much work on your own, or you just couldn't go further and you felt like you'd reached an end? You know, was there anything that you did?
So I mean, obviously, it's even more complicated when you know you have to open up old wounds, right? You have to go back into the past and start digging into things that you've been avoiding your whole life. And so that's a struggle. It was difficult. It felt like, this is quite the process. Initially, it was just me saying, okay, I'm doing this. I need this. And so just willing myself and just spending time with God and trying to get through it. But I think what helped me was on that journey, I've now created new friends that were also currently missionaries with me and on their own journeys. And by the way, none of them were like alcoholics or drug addicts. None of them did that stuff. They weren't ever in that life. But they just had a heart for serving God. And the more time I spent with them and the more that they encouraged me and invested in me, the more it motivated me. And even just seeing my family now looking at the process from the outside and being like, oh, is that Kesh for real? That's not the same Kesh we know. That gave me some excitement. I'll never forget the first time my father, he told me that he's proud of me because he's a businessman, and I always thought I need to be successful in school. I need to be successful in business because this is him. But he didn't care about those things. For him, the moment that he told me he's proud of me was when he saw me giving my heart to God and just changing my life and living a fulfilled life with purpose. And whether that meant as a missionary or a businessman, he was just happy that I was fulfilled and I was doing what God had called me to. And so just having the support of family and friends around you, that was huge. And that's why, I said it at the beginning, I love Canubia. I love Grace Family Church as a whole because I feel like at all our campuses, we've managed to achieve that. It's really called Grace Family Church for a reason. It's heavily hearted on family and the development and growing of family. And so, again, that relationship is important for us. We can't do life on our own. I don't think God created us to do that.
No, I agree. I definitely don't think he did. And, tell us, where do you find yourself today with the journey that you've been on from your 20s now into the 30s, I'll say? Where do you find yourself now? How do you find yourself with relationships and your own spiritual walk?
I am still growing, man. It's a never ending process. And so there's different aspects like now with the campus and then my family life. So for example, my family life, obviously I ended up getting married after my journey didn't end there. It continued going. And so more of life experiences continued along the way. And, I got married and then I met my beautiful wife, Christina. She was also a missionary. And I think that's been a relationship that's been grounding for me because right from the beginning, we both, we met each other and the relationship was based on, is this relationship from you, God? Like, is this the person that you have created for me to be with and do life together with? And I feel I definitely found the person that God created for me. She was not on my list. So we talk about dying to self. My list was very long and it was very different. But that's the thing with God. He knows what you actually need more than what you want. And so, thank you for provision of a good wife. And why I'm saying this is because Christina has become like, she holds me together. Like when I feel like I'm going off or I'm struggling with something and I'm dealing with something, that's my person that I know that I can always count on. That's my go-to person. And I think that's why God created marriage, so that you can have a person like that in your life and you can be a person to them as well. So it works both ways. And so, and we obviously dealt with the loss of a child as well. We lost our daughter. Again, life is short. Your days are numbered. My daughter was 3 months old when she passed away. She didn't even get to taste life fully. So But even in that, you know, how did I use the time well? So it was 3 months of being in the hospital every day. She was in ICU, neonatal, for 3 months. So every single day, myself and my wife would go to the hospital maybe twice or three times a day, and just be there with her. And so again, even though it was a short-lived life, we have memories that we can hold in our hearts together forever. And because we chose in that moment, in the most stressful time of your life, to use that time well. And using that time well meant spending time with each other and spending time with our child in the hospital. And yes, it didn't work out in the way that we had hoped for, but we're grateful for what we did have. And we know, like the Bible teaches us, you know, there's an eternity where she gets to rest now and live in peace in relationship with her father.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, so sorry, we were just saying this, the relationship, where we're at in life now. So yeah, so dealing with the struggles and stuff and relationships now, um, I'm more mindful into what I actually have in front of me, who's in front of me. The congregation, we don't take you for granted. You find us like doing life with the congregation. Like for me personally, I know you're never gonna find a pastor in this place that's gonna be like, you know, I'm the pastor, I'm sitting in my VIP section. No, we do life together.
Yeah.
We're spending every day together in ministry together. And that's the way God created it. Yeah.
That's exactly it. Definitely. Thank you for sharing with. You've had a lot of loss over your life, more than most, especially who've reached the age that you have. You've suffered a lifetime of loss at 8 already, let alone in your married life. If there was one takeaway that you would like listeners to know from your testimony, as well as from just this remembering to number our days, what do you think that would be?
You know, if I had to leave you with something, it would probably be a scripture, which I think sums up everything that I've been speaking about and the way that it's impacted me. And it's one of the most famous scriptures. It's like the key verse of the Bible, you know, John 3:16, but actually it's 17. And I'll read it for you. It says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, whoever believes in him should not perish, but have an eternal life. For God did not send his son into the world to condemn the world, but that he might that the world might be saved through him." And for me, like, this just speaks of everything. First of all, for God so loved the world, I mean, he loved us. Having an understanding that God actually loves you, that he's not there to just judge you and waiting for you to fail in life, and that he actually has your back, and that you can go to him unashamed regardless of what you've done. That's love. You know, we speak about love, and there's this idea of there's an inward love which is all about self, but then there's the outward love which is gracious and kind to everybody around you. And that's the love that God has for us. It's this outward love that just goes beyond anything we can expect, so that it can reach us and pull us in towards him. And so for God to love the world, and he gave his son, and that's how he's shown us this. And this was a gift that we get to choose, right? Whoever believes, because we can will things in life, we can hope for the best in life, but the reality is, you know, might not happen. And when it comes to our relationship with God, we can hope that he exists. We can hope that he'll do something in our lives, or we can actually believe it. And believing it means trusting in him. And trusting means just surrendering yourself wholly to him. So dying to self, your own expectations, your own understanding of things. God's word says that his understanding and his thoughts is so far away from us. Like if you can picture the sky, picture the stars, how far it is, like that's how far his thoughts is from our thoughts, and it's just beyond us. And so just trusting in that. And when you can trust in that, then you trust in his plan and purpose for your life. And then once you can trust his plan and purpose for your life, you got to be jealous for it. You know, we can't let things rob us from getting his plan and purpose for our lives, because life is short. We don't know when it can end. And so we have to be jealous for his plan and purpose for our life. Because this life will just pass us by, and we wouldn't have even scratched the surface. I had this illustration once. This doctor told me, we were talking about getting motivated to do the things that I wanted to achieve. And he's like, right now you've got the mansion, but you're sitting on the steps of the mansion and you're not even getting into the house. So it's like, how am I spending this time? Just scratching the surface, or being jealous for God's plan and purpose for my life and actually getting into it? I can think it and say, one day, or I can start living it right now.
Yeah, for sure. Sure. I like that. Illustrations are always good.
Yeah.
It's something that it's easy to picture in our minds and keep with us. So I like that.
Yeah.
Kesh, we appreciate so much your vulnerability and your bravery to be vulnerable with us today, because it's you and me chatting, but it's the rest of the world watching. So thank you so much. Really.
Thank you for having me. I hope you guys are inspired and encouraged. And go out and live your life, man. Live your best life, because God has created the best life for you.
Exactly that. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in today. We would love to hear from you if Kesh's story has touched you in any way. If you would like to reach out for any help with any addictions or anything that you're involved in, we would love to be there to help you and point you in the right directions as well, and just pray for you. So we would love to hear from you in the comment sections, or you can email us directly as well. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing everyone next week. Cheers, hey, bye.
Bye, guys.